Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm making some pumpkin buns that are perfect to decorate a nice dinner table during the autumn, but also they're really delicious. So let's get started. I start by mixing the dry yeast with some warm milk and half a tablespoon of honey. If you're vegan and you don't want to use honey, you could use maple syrup or simply sugar. I let the yeast mixture kind of rest for 10 minutes until I noticed that the yeast kind of expanded a bit and the honey has melted. And this is also a great way to see if the yeast is still active. And then I add all the other ingredients. I add in another tablespoon and a half of honey and the pumpkin puree. If you don't have pumpkin puree and you want to make it at home from scratch, you can do it by simply chopping up in cubes fresh pumpkin and put it in the oven for around 20 minutes with a tablespoon or two of water, so that then you can simply mush up all the pumpkin. I pour in a tablespoon of olive oil and I stir it up until I get this smooth mixture. I'm adding a quarter teaspoon of turmeric with the bread flour or all-purpose flour, and this will enhance a bit the orange color, but it's totally optional. I mix in also a teaspoon of salt. Now I add a third of the flour with the wet ingredients. I mix it up well and then I add another third of flour. Here the mixture will start to become quite clumpy, so I put in the counter the remaining amount of flour and I drop in the clumpy dough. I start kneading the dough until all the flour is absorbed. I find it very therapeutic. Keep kneading until the dough looks really smooth. It takes about 10 minutes or so. Then place it back in the bowl and cover it with saran wrap. Now I just let it rest for about 2 hours until it doubles in volume, and I like to put it inside of the oven but with the oven off and the light on because it provides the perfect environment to make the dough rise. 2 hours later, look how much it grew. It's perfect. I drop the dough in the counter and I close it up by folding it in half. I divide it in 6 pieces of about 90 grams each. I used a scale to be precise, but it's not necessary. Slightly flour your hands and start forming the buns like this. Fold the dough into 3 parts in one way and then 3 parts on the other way. Then I round the dough. I roll it into the counter a couple of times to close it up, and here it is. I repeat the same steps for each bun. I set the buns in a pan with parchment paper and I give them the pumpkin shape using a cooking twine. You need about 3 feet or a meter of string per bun. Place the half point of the string on top of the bun and start wrapping it around just like this. It doesn't have to be tight. Tie it up with a knot and cut any excess. Let the bun rest for another hour. Then the coolest moment is when an hour later the buns have transformed into cute pumpkins. Brush it with either plant-based milk if you're vegan or with an egg if you're not. This will give it a nice golden shiny color on top. Bake the pumpkin buns in a preheated oven at 350 Fahrenheit for about 15 minutes. Here they are. I love them. I let them cool down a bit before cutting off the rope. I slightly brush the buns with a little bit of olive oil to make them even shinier. The final touch is to add the pieces of walnut on top to resemble the pumpkin stems. And here they are. Look how soft they are. They're like clouds. I am so happy with the result. They turned out so soft and delicious. They're gonna be perfect with a meal or simply with olive oil, oregano and salt. This is my favorite way of having them. If you give them a try, let me know in the comments below. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to my channel. I post new weekly recipes. See you next time. Bye bye.